Those Christian apologists who style themselves as flood geologists have set forth some truly remarkable ideas, a couple of which I'd like to comment on. I think I ought to begin with a disclaimer. I'm not a scientist of any kind. My education, training, and career have all been in music. I do have a keen interest in what lies underneath my feet, however, and have spent many years collecting rocks and fossils and learning everything I can about them. I've paid close attention to what I see in the field, and that includes lots of reflection on the geologic features I've seen while traveling. I also happen to have grown up in a fundamentalist Christian sect and understand from the inside, as it were, some of the odd notions that populate the heads of committed Bible believers. Of all the oddball claims made by so-called flood geologists, one of the oddest must surely be that the sedimentary rocks that cover most of the continents are all relics of the Great Flood described in the book of Genesis. This means that the 2 miles of sandstone in the Anadarko Basin near where I live must have been deposited in a matter of weeks some 4,400 years ago. The mind reels. Most rebuttals of this nonsense focus on the orderly fossil record that we can observe from the time fossils first appear in the geologic record some 600 million years ago to the recent past. I want to take a different approach in this video. I think we should look at some chalcedony. There are discrepancies between the casual use of such terms as chalcedony among hobbyists and casual collectors and the formal usage more likely to be found among geologists, mineralogists, geochemists, and so forth. This is why you'll often hear such terms as flint, chert, agate, onyx, carnelian, and jasper used interchangeably by the former, and chalcedony used as an overarching category term among the latter. Thus, chalcedony includes such categories as agate and jasper, and those subsets all exhibit twisted microscopic fibers of SiO2, also known as silica. Thus, chalcedony is defined by Neuendorf in the 2005 Glossary of Geology as a cryptocrystalline variety of quartz and a general name for crystalline silica that forms concretionary masses with radial fibrous and concentric structure. The version of chalcedony known as agate often exhibits translucence and banding, both of which may be seen in this hand specimen that I found in the Mojave Desert a few years ago. Much of the chalcedony that is found worldwide is either opaque or translucent only in thin sections. This version is usually referred to as chert, jasper, or flint, depending primarily on its color and secondarily distinguished by its fracture. High-grade chalcedony breaks in a conchoidal fracture with sharp, durable edges, which made it the ideal material for the knapping of such stone tools as spear points, arrowheads, knives, sickles, and so forth. The banded chalcedony in this photograph is a chert nodule that I collected from the Boone Formation in north-central Arkansas. The Boone Formation is a Mississippian period unit, some 350 million years old, and the beds and lenses of chert that are found embedded in its highly fossiliferous limestone are the result of a diagenetic process that slowly replaced vulnerable portions of the limestone with silica while the region was still under ocean water. That replacement takes an almost unfathomably long period of time, as countless laboratory experiments have made clear. That's why so much chalcedony is banded. The depositional environment changed many times over the course of the diagenesis. In this piece of banded chalcedony from the Mojave Desert, one can easily trace the changes in depositional environment as the bands range from opaque to translucent across several different shades and hues. This is not a feature of rapid deposition, no matter how many miracles one invokes to explain it that way. This spear point from southern Missouri also exhibits pronounced banding, and it's clear that the suite of minerals available when this chert was being formed is totally different from the conditions that colored the pieces I've shown you that came from the Mojave Desert. A single worldwide flood, mixing everything up into an inchoate mass and dumping it unceremoniously in depositional basins across the planet, is not a viable model for explaining the origin of this chert. Here's the other side of that spear point. The chert is from the Reed Spring Formation, whose blue-gray banded chalcedony is quite distinctive. This is a collection of silicate rocks that I gathered in the Mojave Desert near Edwards Air Force Base in central California. The ground in the area is littered with rocks like these, together with limestone and sandstone pebbles from nearby sedimentary formations and white quartz and feldspar from pegmatites in the region. Many of these rocks could be considered agates, others jasper. The only igneous rock in the photo is the larger banded rock in the upper half of the picture, which appears to be a piece of banded rhyolite. Otherwise, they're all silicate rocks that have been precipitated in the voids of rhyolites and basalts that have long since weathered away. These rocks have persisted because they're highly resistant to the kind of chemical weathering that reduces granite to sand and limestone to soda water. Their wide range of colors owes to various mineral impurities that are locked into the cryptocrystalline structure of the rocks. Different rocks ended up with different impurities because the chemistry of circulating groundwater changes over time. I've tumble polished these rocks to highlight their features. They all took a similar degree of polish because despite their superficial differences, their basic chemistry is pretty much the same. Here are a few close-ups of those Mojave Desert silicates. The rocks I've just shown you took an amount of time to form that can only be reckoned in millions of years. Moreover, they formed at vastly different times under a wide variety of depositional circumstances. There's simply no way a sane person can imagine that these rocks are relics of a worldwide deluge that happened a little over 4 millennia ago. When I consider that the harebrained notions of self-styled flood geologists are being taught to a large population of young minds who are being homeschooled by fundamentalist parents or indoctrinated in Christian academies with their highly distinctive science curriculum, I weep for the future.